I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
And this
is Bromance.
Nailed it. All right, so today on the podcast, we're joined by Terry Ryan, a man who's lived about 5 lifetimes worth of stories already. Born in St. John's and raised in Mount Pearl, Terry was drafted 8th overall by the Montreal Canadiens, making him one of the highest NHL draft picks ever to come out of Newfoundland and Labrador. His pro career, in his own words, may not have unfolded as he expected. However, Terry has made his mark in the ball hockey world, representing Team Canada at 6 World Championships.
Off the ice, he's reinvented himself as an actor, popping up in hit shows like Shoresy, Letterkenny, Frontier, and Hudson Rex. And as an author with 2 memoirs that pull no punches about the highs and lows of life in hockey and beyond. And in true Terry fashion, which is one of the best things in the entire world, on his 47th birthday, he suited up for the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL, becoming the oldest player to ever hit the ice in that league, complete with a fight for good measure.
He is one of the best storytellers in the league, a scrapper, a guy who knows the value of good friends and good laughs. Terry Ryan, my friend, welcome to Bromance.
Thank you, boys. Well, there you go. That's one of the best intros I've ever had. I really appreciate it, and you've done your homework, and it's all part of the hockey community and culture that I love to be a part of, so it's a real honor to be here today.
Beautiful, beautiful. Terry, I was doing a little bit of research on you there, and hearing you speak so highly of guys like David Lankow and different folks along the way. I mean, this podcast is really about, friendships and the support groups that that make success possible, especially in team sports. And if you could just talk a little bit about what that friendship meant to you, and how different folks along the way have played valuable roles in making you the person that you become today.
Yeah, that's a great question. So with Damon, it's pretty, it was unexpected, and our relationship and our friendship is very deep because of the things that we went through together. So I guess I'll frame it here. I'm the only Newfoundlander to ever play in the Western Hockey League. In the 80s, we didn't have anybody play in the NHL. Very rare did we have anybody play a pro game. Not that we didn't have the talent, it wasn't really scouted. So I got scouted in Quebec. I knew that I was going to Tri-City as a huge prospect because I went out there and they traded up to get me. They tried to hide me up in Quesnel. That was the reason they didn't want me to go to Vancouver. The draft's when you're 14. I think it was the first or second year of that. So I went. I ended up going 3rd overall, and then I'll get into the Quesnel stuff later because that was pretty crazy, and I needed major friends and teammates that were good leaders on the way. I was very impressionable. I was 14 years old. If the boys were piss tanks or just bad people in general, or people that didn't take sports seriously, but that were great. But I needed those guys to be there for me. Lanks, I remember, wasn't even he's a year older than me hockey-wise, but we're in the same draft year because he's born after September.
Mm-hmm.
And when he went there as a 15, turning 16-year-old, he did pretty well. I believe he had 40-odd points. The next year, I think he had 60-something, which would have been my first year in the league as I was a centerman. So I get there, and Lanks really had a good camp. He had a great camp, and I don't think people were expecting this. He certainly wasn't highly touted like me, but Lanks is just a guy from Vegreville that had a good camp. And it turned out that he was a great player. And my dad, I remember coming out to watch camp. Not that my dad was the be-all and end-all. I didn't use him as an agent or anything. He didn't ever force me to go to the rink and play, but he played professionally. He's one of the only Newfoundlanders, especially at that time, to do it, and I respected his opinion. And he, along with my coach, Bob Laux, he was an ex-wrestler. His wrestling name was Little Brutus. He had a Brock Lesnar kind of approach or look physically. And the big mustache. He stood out. He looked real tough, and he was real tough. I found out he was just a great person. When you communicate with certain coaches, they could be tough coaches, but if they're good communicators, there you go. He's a friend to this day. So him and my father's, not at the same time, but I could see the writing on the wall, and they're like, if you want to be second line center, but you're not as good of a skater as this guy, and I wasn't. And he had an extra year in the league, and that first year when I was 16, I got brought in, I had 16 goals, I'll never forget, 17 assists, and I think 176 I had 24, 25 fights in my as a 16-year-old, and 30-odd points, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know if I was rated where I ended up getting drafted. My name was sniffing around the 2nd and 3rd round, possibly backdoor first if I had a good year. Those things were happening. I didn't like to concentrate on it. But Lanks kind of came out of nowhere. And to elaborate on that, like I said, we used all of North America, and they found loopholes, and that's why I had to move out west with my parents. They couldn't just draft me from here. Well, another guy that did that was Brian Boucher. He's our goalie. And Bush came out, and we only picked him up in, I believe, November. He was playing in Toronto Junior A, and we knew that he was good, and we had friends that we knew, and I'd been to tournaments, and I heard about this guy, Brian Boucher. So Bob asked us about him. I'm like, I've heard he's lights out. And we had the same agent. So he came in, and immediately, without getting into the stats of it all, Lanks, myself, and Boucher found ourselves all rated in the first round unexpectedly. I mean, Bush wasn't even playing Major Junior in September.
Hmm.
And by December, now it's January, and Lanks and I, you couldn't deny us. Lanks finished first in the league in scoring, and I think I was fourth or fifth amongst all these guys. So we it was weird because we couldn't go to World Junior Camp because there's only so many people. But I think given um, an equal and balanced year where those guys are not in our league, we probably would have. We were ripping it up. We went to the All-Star game, and it was this magical year that none of us saw coming. And halfway through that, I mean, what happens or halfway? Like along that journey, as that kind of situation evolves, you get an overwhelming amount of people that want a piece of you. Some of it's good, some of it's agents, some of it's, it's always the media. And imagine now it's probably a lot worse. But, expectations, and you go through slumps together. Bush might lose 5 games in a row. I might not score. I had 110 points that year. It wasn't all easy. I scored my 50th goal, which Lanks assisted on, with 28 seconds left in the final game of the year. And I remember our coach, Bob Laux, I had 48 goals going into the final game. And I mean this because he's as much of a friend as anything. I still call Bob. I talk to him all the time. Bob went into the guys and he said, okay, Ray Schultz doesn't have a goal. Ray ended up getting drafted to the New York Islanders. He said, Ray doesn't have a goal yet, and T-Bone's sitting on 48. And he said, you guys mind here? Does anybody else have any other? Because I'm going to play the shit out of them. And I went out there and I played every second shift. He called 2 timeouts, and there was TV timeouts, and he just played me and played me and played me. And I scored my 49th with about 5 minutes left from Damon shorthanded. And this clip is out there on YouTube. I scored my 50th with 28 seconds left. Damon stayed out there with me. It was such a great celebration. Bush was in there. It was the last game of the year. Damon ended up winning the scoring that night over Darcy Tucker by 2 points. I like to say because of my 2 goals. But uh, we just went through that ride together, man. And then it was all surreal. I remember being at Bush's house, and we had our Nintendo out.
Kids, eh? It's
Yeah,
wild.
we were thinking
What a life.
how wild it was that we were playing the Nintendo, and I remember getting the call, and our 3 phones went off at the same time. It was like, "Hey, Washington wants you to come down," and then it was like, when you go to the draft, Phil Esposito wants to talk to you, and we were like, "Man, shit's getting real here," and we did all of that together, and so I can't really even explain some of those highs and lows. How many times that I remember just before a game. And I like to think I got it together. I'm strong mentally, but sometimes it just overwhelms you. And almost the sheer joy of playing hockey sometimes, I would almost hyperventilate. I needed those guys, and everything I was doing felt like I was on a different planet. The Western League is a long way from Newfoundland, as you know. So I felt really, really far away. I felt like when I brought up I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland at school, no one knew what I was talking about. Nobody.
Right.
My socials teacher thought he said, "Oh, you speak English pretty well." He thought Newfoundland meant New Finland. I said,
That's
"No, not
hilarious.
Finland, man. Newfoundland." I said, "You probably say Newfoundland." "Oh, Newfoundland." I go, "No, Newfoundland. I'm telling you, I'm from there. That's how we say it."
Yeah,
So
I can
and those are
vouch.
just anecdotes. I didn't hold it against Mr. Flesher was his name, but so I really needed those guys, and we bonded, and we still talk today. And I couldn't be any prouder to have gone through that experience with those guys by my side.
Touched on briefly like the importance of calling your parents. I'm still an old soul where I like to call people. I think calling is unfortunately a lost art. I think we should do it more. And for you, like that first bit, you're moving across the country.
Yeah.
And obviously it's hockey, hockey, hockey. You're with your team. I get it. But still that connection to home is so important, obviously, especially from somebody that's from Newfoundland. Like how much did that actually help your transition of like, I need to navigate this new normal, but I can always call home. I can always get my mom's voice, my dad's voice. I can always have that. How important was that for you?
As so important. The trainers knew. Our trainer was named Jerry Fredrickson. He knew to have the phone line open for me after games. And my dad was the best man at both of my weddings. We talk about friendship. He's one of the guys. He hangs out with us still. And I had great billets. I try to say this to people when they go. I don't know why, but still, not a lot of people bring that up. And I've seen careers made or broken on it. I've seen players that just need a bit of a direction or a place to live that with respect and with privacy and sometimes the other way around. I mean, billets can go either way, but no one really stresses it. I had people there that felt like parents that I could give a hug to after games that I was proud of, that I like. And my parents came out multiple times, of course. The team set them up. Thank you. I would never be able to afford it. Mark and Nancy were awesome billets, and they would interact. And I really, really, really did feel like I had two sets of parents. It
Right.
really made a difference. There was guys on the team, I'm telling you, I see it come and go, that have the talent and they have no direction, and, you wanna help them, but you can only do so much as a teammate.
Mhm.
I think that's the most important is to have these billets that you can have a relationship with, that you can talk to, that aren't just, some are too lax, some are, not lax enough. But as long as you can have this conversation and communicate and have a set of boundaries while having a respect, and usually they turn into friends, not all the time. But that for me was absolutely massive. I can't say
Crucial.
enough, and I will as long as I say it, and this pod's out there. When I was 19, I ended up making Montreal, and Montreal wanted. They told me I was going to go back to junior at the deadline, but you can't send someone down to the American League when they're 19. So they said you play up here till then. I ended up playing 4 games and you'll practice with us. And I didn't mind that at all. A lot of people said, "Oh man, you're not in the lineup again." I'm like, "I'm on the Habs. I'm 19. I get it. I understand this. I'm practicing." I used to warm up, no bucket, go out. I used to I used to write my name. I used to sign it, and then I put like if there was any desirable women in the stands that would make the interest. I'd put my number there. And I don't know how many of these I've hundreds over the years.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, so but that year in particular. So, but at the deadline, I knew I was going back, and I went back to Red Deer, and I had my signing bonus and everything. I could have gone a few routes with that. I could have picked whichever billets I wanted. I could have stayed in a hotel. There was places offering to have me there for free as long as I did promotions. But I elected to live with my buddy Scott Burt, who's coaching now, and the Tomiltys, Neil and Vera Tomilty, because I always felt grounded in junior with the billet family. I love that. And even when I went to Montreal, I hung around with Shane Corson a lot. He felt like a bit
Oh
of
yeah.
a father figure. He's 10 years older than me. A big brother more than anything, but he had that family structure, right? He had a family and kids, and so I would feel very much at home going to hang
Right.
out. And speaking of that, of course, has been my friend. I just spoke to him 2 days ago. All that time, and even when I was down and out and in the minors and senior hockey and everything, he remained a buddy.
I think it's fair to say that while we both love friendships, we both love love. And the cool thing is, charm is a part of our real life love stories.
When the time came to propose to Kat, I worked with the team at Charm to design a ring that really reflected just how much I love her.
And when Jen and I exchanged our vows, we also exchanged wedding bands from Charm. Charm isn't your average mall jewelry store. Aside from being proudly Canadian owned and operated, they're also so proud to be a part of your love stories.
You can buy something right from the case, or like me, you can design something custom and one of a kind.
I'm many things, Ty, but I'm not a jewelry designer. That's where Charm comes in to help with the assist.
And not only does Charm have the most incredible selection of gifts for literally anyone in your life, they come with warranties, unbeatable pricing policies, free cleanings, financing plans, and so much more.
Charm Diamonds has been around for over 50 years, and you can shop in one of their many stores across Canada or online. Visit charmdiamonds.com now.
It's wild in hockey where those formative years where so many other people have the high school experience, and you have these friends that you grow up with and you build these bonds through adolescence, and hockey players, that experience takes place in a professional setting, where at 14 you're coming out and you're not just playing a game for fun, you're playing a game because the folks who own the team, they want to win. You want to make a career out of it. And in a lot of ways, I think you're asked to grow up quite quickly.
Mm.
So one of our questions is childhood friends and these people that you have around you for for long term. Um, how much of that did you get from back home from St. John's, and how it sounds like, as we're talking about your junior hockey career, a lot of those roles were filled by teammates, by people that you went through that experience with at, from 14 to 19. I mean, geez, at 19, I felt like a kid, and you're playing pro hockey. So, are you able to speak a little bit about that, about, the the friends that you had back
Yeah.
home, and how that felt being asked to, be a professional at that time?
I have a specific story for you there. It might take 10 minutes if you got it. Um,
Very good. Yeah.
okay, so first of all, my hockey career, I include minor hockey when I say it in my head, and senior hockey. I played senior hockey until only last year when I played with the Growlers. It's almost like a semi-pro league, right? Like I was rare to be playing into my 40s. So when I play senior hockey, or when I say that, a lot of people assume, oh, there's lots of 40s and 50s. No, 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 there's not. So the point is that I like to stay competitive. These are my friends. I still play hockey, and they're my friends. I might have played in Montreal at one point, but my hockey friends are my hockey. Some of them are Shane Corson. Some of them are Darcy Tucker, Damon Lankow, but a lot are right here, and that's why I go back and I play, and it gets really competitive, and it still gets me a chance to do that with my friends. So when you're asking me about hockey, that's how I would stay grounded within the sport, because I'd come back and I'd play here in the summers. I'd play ball hockey. I never really skipped a beat. I never treated it like I was this big pro and they weren't. These are my best friends of all time. Otherwise, I still wouldn't be playing with them at 48 years old, and everywhere we can go and every chance we get to hang out, we do. Now, within that world, okay? You're talking about friendship. Growing up, there's a guy named Jeremy Charles. Now he's Chef Jeremy Charles. He's one of the best chefs in the world, one of the most sought after. So Jeremy was my best friend in the world, is my best friend in the world. It was very hard when I left. That was the biggest thing, was I was leaving Jeremy. I'm an only child. He lived up the road. We spent every single day together. I mean, for more than half a decade. I bet you I could count on one hand the nights that I didn't sleep at his house or he didn't sleep at my house. And we didn't go to the same school. Like, we were inseparable.
Wow.
Jeremy was a little small at the time, and I was a lot bigger. So I used to put my hat like this and put Vaseline and pepper on my face and go in and buy us booze. It looked like stubble, right? It looked like stubble.
Absolutely.
I could go down the list. But he was a great athlete. He was the best soccer player in Newfoundland. He got me into soccer. We won the Atlantics one year. We just played all sports together, man. That was every day, knocking around in Mount Pearl. I'll never forget it. The night that I left, it's so weird, man. Yeah, I was going to play junior. I leave to go, and Jeremy was also a great hockey player. Not quite blue chip like me, but he was definitely going to do something. So I go to Tri-Cities. I guess I'm 16, 17. My draft year happens, and then Jeremy goes to play. So I guess he would have been 17, turning 18. He goes to play in the Golden Horseshoe League in Ontario in pursuit of going NCAA. He's a great player, a rocket. Couldn't put it in the ocean from the wharf, but an absolute, still a better skater than me. Loved playing with Jeremy. And every chance he got, he'd pass it to me. He would look for only me. It was great. In soccer and in hockey, we were just inseparable. So
That's awesome.
it killed him a lot, and me too, that I left. So he came out to see me a couple of times in Quesnel. And then when he went on his own journey, I don't want to get too personal, but we met here at Christmas time, like you would. And all the guys playing away, right? And Jeremy, for lack of a better way to put it, caught his girlfriend cheating on him, and he punched the wall and he broke his hand. So Jeremy goes in and he starts taking business courses at Memorial University, and I knew that wasn't his thing. He's smart. He would have gotten through it, but that wasn't his thing. And he was a little bit depressed, and I really don't know if he ever really wanted to play hockey, like at that level. I think there was a lot of pressure. I think he was doing it for other people. He wanted to go to chef school, or culinary school, and there's one at Concordia. So, and that's in Montreal.
Right.
So he started to go, and course, I forget it, but the way course put it is like, if you stay in school and you're doing well, I'll give you a job in my restaurant. So course had a restaurant there called Shane's, right in the heart of downtown Montreal. I get there in 10 minutes after a game. Jeremy starts working there, and the bartender is Sam Roberts, the musician. So he meets the Molson family, members of the Molson family who own the team. And they have like retreats up north, retreats, like fishing camps and stuff. A bunch of people with $1 gazillion getting together. Good people, mind you. I met not all people with a gazillion dollars are nice, humble, down to earth people, but I think that just was something that goes along with the Montreal Canadiens, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy goes up, and Jeremy also, like, he loves to hunt and fish, and he ties his own flies. He's an expert at it. I don't think people saw that. So he's up there, and they're short on ingredients a couple times. So Jeremy, like, um, just maybe shot a rabbit, made rabbit stew, had
Goes out and forages his own
forages,
meals for the boys.
mushrooms and yeah, and shrubs, and yeah, he does that. So they really enjoyed it. He met a guy there from Chicago. His name was Sam. I won't get into the rest of it, but yeah, he had a lot of money, and he offered Jeremy to go down, basically cook for him, learn the industry. He'd pay him X amount of dollars, and he put Sarah through interior design school, his wife, which she did, and she passed with flying colors. In 2007, Jeremy came back here to marry Sarah, and Sam and I were in the wedding party. But we were like, Jeremy wants to move home, and I think he could. And this place is about 25 minutes outside of St. John's, though. I don't know if we were necessarily saying we should put a restaurant down here. I was thinking you guys should move some closer, maybe to the water. Maybe you're a businessman, you got lots of money to spend. Like, maybe there's a way Jeremy can do it. So they ended up opening up a restaurant called Atlantica. And Jeremy, he became such a name. People are from everywhere. I thought St. John's was far. People are coming from CBS and Paradise and Holyrood. They're coming in to go to this new restaurant by this great new chef. And that comes to fruition. 3 or 4 years, it's rated #1 restaurant in all of Canada by En Route magazine, which is read
Wow.
by everybody in the air. This happens, and he becomes one of the biggest chefs on the planet. Anthony Bourdain's last show was here. The
Wow.
Parts Unknown. Jeremy took him out moose hunting, salmon fishing, because I said,
Oh,
do all
jeez.
that. It's crazy. And then when my hockey career ended, I needed something. Alan Hawko, who's basically the Jared Kiso of Republic of Doyle, got me on set, but it wasn't as an actor, man. I was locations at first, which is like jump how high. I did that for 4 or 5 years. Then I got in the set dressing union. And Jason Momoa came over here. That really helped me because Jason was a hockey fan. And he happened to read my book. My book had just come out, Tales of a First Round Nothing. He's from Des Moines, Iowa, real humble beginnings,
Yeah.
and loved hockey. I actually taught him to skate. All this was happening. So him, and with the help of Alan and a bunch more, I got, and he said, leave the tooth out. I was just going to get it fixed because I got in the crew union, which is called IATSE. And I
Yeah.
was going to, he goes, no, leave it out. He goes, I can get, and Momoa ended up getting me in there as, like, I did stunts at first, and then I was like a pimp, a crackhead, a drug dealer, never a hockey player. But he got me in there.
Yeah.
He got me in there. So during this, Momoa says, I'm sitting next to him at the Merchant Tavern, which is Jeremy's spot.
Right.
It's a very open concept. Jeremy's back there cooking with the other chefs. People are coming down just to watch Jeremy Charles at work. I can't believe it. I'm telling Momoa this story. And as I'm telling him, Momoa, and he was there to do the show Frontier. Check out the first scene is me. It's a British soldier begging for his life. First time I was ever on camera in that capacity. Spoke, please have mercy, got me in the union, 3 words. So I'm sitting there with him. He gets a phone call. He finds out he's Aquaman. And I was like, whoa, and he could turn around to everybody, and the crew was down there, and he said, you guys want some time on Aquaman? Called ahead of time. They were supposed to do most of it in New Zealand. He made part of it here, Petty Harbor, and he got a bunch of us, and I figured just as crew, but a bunch of us, he goes, yeah, you'll all be on Aquaman, and people were like, yeah. My buddy Gerald Butt, MLB draft pick,
Yeah.
he's got the long hair, he's his stunt double. I'm going, this is wild. And when that happens, he's got his assistant on the other side of him. She's from California, and I forget, she had some news that sidetracked her, but she needed 3 months off. And so he looked at me, he goes, hey, want to be my assistant? And just as we were drinking beer, I'm like, what? Want to be your assistant? So he takes me over to Europe, and he says, well, we need a chef. And what's Jeremy up to? Flies Jeremy over. We're in Castles in northern England. We spent a few months over there. It was unbelievable. And as I say this, guys, okay, when I played during that time in Montreal, okay?
Mhm.
There's a girl, she's a few years older than me. I knew of her. Her name is Maxime Roy. She's on Shoresy as Jill a little bit. She comes on Shoresy.
Right.
I was kind of nervous to ask her out. Anyway, when I'm reading the script on Shoresy a few months ago, I'm like, oh my God, who's Jill? And I'm like, oh yeah, and she walks in, I'm like, oh my God, got to shoot my shot here. So
Yeah.
I asked her out, and she came over to, and very light. We just went out for a bite to eat and everything, but she ends up coming over here to visit me. This all happened within the last few months. She visited me, and while she's here, she got a role on St. Pierre, which is weird because I told you about Alan Hocko, who gave me a
Yeah.
chance. And Hocko now, this is another detective show set in St. Pierre. So she's the police chief. So she's here now all the time. And I just got back from Toronto. I'm flying up to see Oasis on Sunday. She gets here Monday, and we're driving out to see Jeremy, who's set up now. He's got a
Full circle.
I know.
Damn,
He's
this
got a
is
little
fate.
food truck out in
Uh,
Grossmore in a place in Norris Point. He's got a food truck with lobster rolls set up, and we're going out to visit him on Monday. And I know that's a long story. More than
That is an unbelievable story, though.
but
That
that is what
Holy.
and he is my best friend in the world.
yeah.
And as I sit here with that jersey over my shoulder, if you had told either one of us that either one of us would play a minute of hockey away from Newfoundland, let alone with the Montreal Canadiens, we wouldn't have believed him when we were 12 years old. When
Wha-
we were 14, it would be a stretch. And when we're 18, we're living it. And now he's one of the biggest chefs on the planet. Sam is like opening for the Rolling Stones and a big star in his own right. And yeah, I
That
was
that is unbelievable, man. That is so cool to think that from spending every night at each other's houses when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, that friendship and to maintain that and to end up in the mecca of the hockey world and the culinary world and to have the series. I believe that there's such an incredible power to love and friendship, and I think really solid friendship is love, and I've I've lived it. The people that have been there from day one that you can just be yourself with, and when you're as happy for their successes as they are for yours. I mean, what a cool place to be in the world in a relationship, and then to have the opportunity to experience that together, man. That is so cool.
yeah,
That's
it was,
awesome.
it was out of this world. And I didn't think I'd be an actor, and he didn't think he'd be a chef. And we found our way in another. It's really so wild how it all went down. I believe in the power of love and friendship and bonding and karma and whatever that is. Maybe a Buddhist kind of mantra, but whatever it is like with Jeremy and I'm convinced it's some level of karma or positivity that brings you together. Maybe something can't be explained by me, but it's just too many coincidences, too many all of, and it just we always end up back at square one as just great friends. And like I said, I'm going out to visit him in a couple days.
It's like that thing you talk about. It's like that sort of magnification of experience when you're sharing it with other people, whether it's Jeremy or your teammates or what have you. Um, yeah, it's like the highlight reels too. The stories that you mentioned that you're known for. I mean, those are the highlight reels of the trailers, almost the things that get people to click on, and then you hear the backstories and the in-depth part of the experience. And I think that's I mean, that's like anything, right? You clip
Yeah.
trailers for movies and TV shows, and then that's what gets you hooked, and then you discover this incredibly deep undercurrent of camaraderie and the experience. And I'm in the exact same boat, man. Hockey has been the through line to all of my successes my whole life. I build my approach to acting based off of what it means to be on a team, and how to work hard when no one's watching, and how to behave under pressure, and how to treat other people, and how to earn respect and be respectful. And I think all that stuff, you see a lot of folks who, whether it's business or the arts, if you've got that discipline and you've got that experience of having good teams and bad teams, all that stuff is so valuable when you get into the quote unquote real world,
Yeah.
right? So that's
I totally
that's
agree, and you
fantastic.
see the world like that. Like
Hmm.
people, I'll do a show or whatever. I mean, I'll use Shoresy as an example, but there's all kinds that you'll talk to one of the crew, and they'll say, "Well, I wish I was part of a team." I'm like, "You are a part of a team. We can't do
Yeah,
this without that, man." Like,
yeah.
there's a lot other than the actual physicality and rules of the sport. I think a
Hmm.
film set is the ultimate team. If one
Yeah,
cog in that wheel is not doing their job, right? Then you've got
yeah.
a bad day. You cost everybody money. You might throw out a day. You might infringe on someone else's acting, but by indirect things if you're not on the same wavelength, right?
Hmm.
So I got into the acting thing, and I was like, wow, like this is a really just an extension of what I've done before when it comes to interacting and communication with people at work.
100%. Dear, we just got a couple of questions that we gotta ensure make it into the podcast. And being a fantastic storyteller, we didn't want to deviate from where we were going. This was fantastic. But one of them is, in your opinion, what's the key ingredient that keeps a friendship going strong?
I think what separates my friends from my acquaintances is true trust and respect. When we talk about love for someone else, you need to have that trust and respect in order to have empathy or compassion for them, right? So I think it starts there. So I make sure, and I get swamped sometimes with messages, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. There's you often lose track. I'm not gonna say I lose track of my friends, but definitely time spent communicating with them when it seems like the world is just going so fast, and I'll have an audition here, and I got this, and I got to post this, and I got a podcast, and make sure to go on Instagram, and don't forget the TikTok. So I make myself, and I do it every Friday. I generally, if I'm home, we skate at noon and we go out for a few beers. And usually at that time, I get down there a little early. I'll pick that time to like call a buddy because I like speaking and I like speaking. Can you tell? Um, but I'd rather, if it comes to communicating, speak. So usually it's a friend or two when I'm in a good mood on the weekend and and they're getting off work or something. I'll usually coordinate it, maybe text them, "Hey, Sam, man. Hey, Maddie, you want to have a chat?" And I mean, you might say that keeps you grounded and stuff, but the reason I just like communicating with friends that I haven't seen in a while, and when you make so many all over the world and just space and time gets limited and more foggy, that's what I like to do. Now, for my better friends, my real good friends, I'll usually try to make sure that at least once a year we do some sort of vacation together. It might be a cabin around here. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a weekend in Toronto, going to a couple of NHL games or Jays games. It might be going up to Montreal. I'm going to see Paul McCartney in a few months. A bunch of buddies are meeting there. And we always stay connected through like hockey pools and football pools. So there's a reason to connect. And then usually that branches off into something. Well, you know what? Buffalo are playing in Toronto this week. Okay, let's go there then.
Yeah.
Having those things together. And I know you might laugh at this, but I have a PS5 and we get on there and we play like hockey together. When I'm going on and playing online, it's with a mic in with my buddies. So there's
Yeah.
not too many that I don't miss. That's a big part of my life. So I just make sure to do things with them. And every day I talk to multiple friends that mean a lot to me through hockey pools or through videos or PlayStation or whatever. But it's a reason, right?
I got two things off that. My wife calls it on the horn. Whenever I'll get into like a spree. If I'm driving a lot, I'll just like call a bunch of people, especially if I'm on the road.
Yeah,
It makes the drive go by
me
so
too.
much quicker.
Yeah.
And I look back on COVID, and the one thing I actually really enjoyed about COVID is we would all get on the mic and just play Fortnite. And like, there's four of you just doing your thing, going into battle together. And it's like, it really did help sustain like our relationships and connections and like still
Yeah.
have that human aspect of things. And I think that's something that is, yeah, it's become so important. Now, it leads to my next question, because you have so much compassion for people, and you can tell, and you have so much empathy for people. And I think I saw something the other day that like, in order to have good relationships with your people, like you do need a good relationship with yourself. And there has been so many highs and lows for you, and how so many struggles along the way. What is something that, a quick thought of like, what is something that you've really learned about yourself that you're like, damn, like I need to focus on that more, or like that's something I need to do for myself. Like, is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, there is something that comes to mind specifically. I was going through a hard time in Montreal, and I was feeling a lot of pressure just as a Montreal Canadiens first round pick. And not even like you'd think on the ice, but just like how to handle myself, what to do. I always had a journal, not necessarily a diary where I just got a blurb in there every day what happened that day, but I had so many unique things happening that I would write. It didn't seem a week went by that I didn't write in the journal. And I remember I wasn't doing that. I was spending extra time practicing, and I was like really, really going hard in the room. And like I was like, well, if practice is for an hour and a half, and I go out there for 4 hours after, they're gonna love me, And Stefan Quintal took me aside, and he's like, dude, you got to stop doing this to yourself. And he's like, you know what I like to do? So I like to go on a vacation by myself once in a while. I like to just up and go to Cabo or go to Italy or whatever, and just it's really good for my mind. And I thought that was absolutely absurd. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going somewhere on my own.
Yeah,
Why would I
by
wanna go?"
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kidding me?
Why the hell would I wanna go there? And boy, was I wrong. I do it all the time now. I think it's a great way to
Amazing.
connect. Go to a state fair down south in a small town and go to a drive-in movie.
Hmm.
Uh, Go watch an MLS game in somewhere that I've never been, like Kansas City, like stuff like that.
Wow.
I go, you know what? I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna have this experience. It's gonna be unique. On Sunday, like I said, I'm flying up. I'm going to go to Oasis. It's gonna be a bunch of us. We're gonna have a blast. But I love just as much as doing that, flying to Smiths Falls or Adirondack Glens Falls and having a coffee. And I really do
I
stuff like
respect
that,
that.
or go out
That's
in the
cool.
car and go point A to point B. I'm not necessarily going to see anybody, but I might call in a favor to someone in Orlando. Hey, do you still have that spot over in Albuquerque?
Yeah,
Going over there, and I didn't know. I just keep the, but I make sure to go on my own.
that's really cool. And journaling too. Hey, it sounds like that's a big part of your life, which I've heard a lot of people speak
Yeah.
very highly of for mental health is journaling.
I used to think it was just that because I'm good at writing. Be creative. A lot of times that people ask me to do cameos, and I know you've done these, I'll make a song out of it or something, or I'll maybe make 3 pages worth of chirps, and people go, "Oh, man, like, you do such a great job at the," but honestly, a lot of it is just getting anxiety out of the way and
Yeah.
making sure to deal with it, and whenever I do that for even 15 minutes, I'm right back to myself, my thoughts around I mean, I think, and I know, Dylan, you've had, some experience with ADD. I read an article a long time ago that
Hmm.
you brought it up. Well, for me, I mean, I don't know, I haven't been diagnosed, but I would be surprised if there's not some level of ADHD in my father and I. I don't I just only say it 'cause I look at him and I see the way he presents himself, and I've talked to him, and oftentimes we're rushing our thoughts. In order for me even to write, I gotta listen to, an album with the lights
Yeah.
off to bring me back down, right?
Slow your yeah, slow yourself down a bit. Yeah.
Something to slow myself down, then I get in the zone, then I can write, and then once I start writing, I forget about anything I was thinking about in the first place, and then I'm like, "Whew." I guess it's a form of meditation. To start my engine, it's a little bit different than starting everybody else's engine, but once you find out what starts that engine, and for me, I'm the 99% of the people I talk to about this that identify, it's something creative. It could be, a lot of my buddy was talking to me about this a while ago. "Oh, I don't write T-bone, I don't play music." No, but you're good at hockey pools. So make a couple. Make a couple on your own instead of going through whatever big gambling site. Do a couple up on your own. Think of a way. Organize something for us all to get together and do. You're a good organizer. How about a golf tournament next summer? Things like that. Just be creative, get some ideas out there, and all the other stuff to me just starts being water off a duck's back.
I think, like, even to touch on that, just like the comfort zone aspect of things. Like, I chatted with a guy who played in the NFL for 8 years, and he retired. And he's like, "What am I going to do now?" And he said, "The best thing that we can do for our minds every single day is just get outside our comfort zone and honestly be spontaneous." And not to make it about myself, but it was interesting when we went on the Amazing Race. Like, the cool aspect of it is you're 30 days with no phone, and you wake up every day never knowing where you're going or what you're doing, but just like trusting that, where you're at is exactly where you're meant to be. And you just got to go in and just like get outside your comfort zone and try. And I think like there's such an outlet to that that allows you to just like be present and like actually soak up that joy and like soak up the laughter and soak up the memories even that much more.
That's a great point, and normally when I'm doing these things, my phone isn't on. Like, if you can take a vacation from your phone as much as you can, that's another thing. I think it creates anxiety. It's just even if it's all positive stuff, it's just so much going on, right? And one app after another and messages. I don't need to be on the phone 18 hours though, right? Take those kind of breaks, and I often do, and I think they're great for the body and mind. And as long as we're talking about friendships, put the phone down and go for a walk with a friend. Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's accessible wherever you are. A friend or an acquaintance, go for a walk, take the phone, huck it somewhere. That's also great for the mind.
Well, TR, what a treat.
That was
Cheers, boys.
fantastic, bro.
Tip of the cap. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's the hockey world's a special place, and it's interesting that we've never crossed paths. But I'm very happy that that now cross paths. And obviously, storytelling is something that I think there's a lot of power in storytelling, and I think you've inspired a lot of people through the power of your stories and your struggles and your highs and lows. And I commend that. I respect that, and I admire that. And yeah, Dylan, I don't know if you got anything else.
Buddy, thank you so very much for taking the time to come on here and chat with us. We really appreciate it, and you're a beauty.
Thanks for having me, guys. And listen, like Ty, Dylan, like what we're talking about, there's a lot of parallels, right? You guys can identify because we've had this a similar road. And for those people listening, it doesn't have to be hockey. It doesn't, but I think a lot of people can identify with what I'm saying because it's human interaction, it's human life. Have respect and compassion. And by the way, boys, keep on grinding. Stay in touch. I hope our paths cross again soon.
Sure they will. Appreciate it.
Dylan, I'm full of questions today, and I got another one for you. So, we are lucky to have many, many pieces of lovely jewelry from Charm now. Okay, so down the road, things get dirty, Can I go into Charm? I know I can always go see our girl Morgan at Market Mall, location in Calgary, to, check things out, but I guess I could just ask you, what can Charm do for us?
I'm glad you asked because, as I've said before, although I don't work here, I happen to know quite a bit about Charm. One of the very, very special policies that they have is free lifetime cleaning. So, whatever you buy from Charm, wherever you are in the country of Canada, which happens to be where Charm is from, a Canadian-owned and operated company, you can go into a store with your jewelry and they will clean it for you for the low, low price of absolutely free. Why, you ask? Well, it's because you bought your jewelry from Charm and now you're part of the Charm family, and the Charm family treats their family very well. Charm is a proud sponsor of our podcast, Romance. Thanks for asking, Ty.
Thanks for answering, Bill.